So I wanted to talk about Super Nintendo World. So you've been to Super Nintendo World in Orlando, the new one at Epic Universe. You survived. You didn't die on any of the rides.
That's right.
So Super Nintendo World, that's the name of it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Super Nintendo World.
Because I couldn't use Nintendo Land because of the Wii U game. It's 5 years now since it first opened. We've both been to it. I've been to the one in Osaka, Japan. You've been to the one in Orlando, Florida. The one you've been, the one in Epic Universe, has the most, it's the biggest one, I believe, the one in Orlando.
I had heard that Hollywood is like significantly smaller. Like there's not even a second level to it, but I'm not sure if that's true.
Have you ever been to Universal in Hollywood in general?
No.
It's small. I've never been to Universal in Orlando. My first time going to Universal was the one in Hollywood, and then I went to the one in Japan. I like Universal. Going by what I've seen at both of them, I know I haven't been to Orlando, which is really the big one, but I still don't think it really holds up to Disney for the most part, at least the older stuff. Like the newer stuff is cool. You know, ever since Harry Potter opened, there's been a big push by the Universal heads to say how much better Universal is than Disney.
I can't imagine being a Universal head like that, honestly.
Harry Potter's great, even though smaller versions I've been to, not the full build out that they have at Orlando. But the stuff that's been there for a while, it's just not that great.
The problem is, especially now with Epic Universe being open, there's just almost no reason to go to regular Universal Studios. Unless you like Harry Potter. That's it.
That's really smart of them to split Harry Potter up into 3 parks. So it's 3 separate admissions. I don't know if smart's the right word. Cunning.
It's shrewd.
I still stand by Disney's a lot better than Universal, but they do have some really cool parts. And the one we're talking about is Super Nintendo World. When they first announced Universal was getting Nintendo, I was a little bit disappointed because I wish Disney had got it. But ultimately, I think they did a great job with it. The biggest thing I think going for Super Nintendo World compared to the recent things Disney's built, my big point of comparison is Galaxy's Edge. So this feels like you're in the game. It looks just like the games. It's not doing the Galaxy's Edge thing. Well, it's not the Mushroom Kingdom. It's another kingdom that Mario could have visited. And I think the biggest thing going for it is there's so much moving stuff. There's so much kinetics. And it is simple, but it's, you know, you have the Goombas moving around, you have the Piranha Plant. Like I said, it's been 5 years since Super Nintendo World first opened. And the question here is, if you haven't been to Super Nintendo World,
what's wrong with you?
And you like Nintendo, really if you like Mario, because it's just Mario, the Super Nintendo World title isn't really accurate at this point. Is it worth visiting?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I can say without a doubt, if you're into that stuff, like I always have been, it really is awesome. I have some concerns. We'll get to that later. But in a general sense, especially for kids, and really that's the only part of the park that I think is fully, you know, kid friendly, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's absolutely worth visiting. It's pretty amazing, honestly. The level of detail, the games, you know, that I don't know if that power up band thing that's $80 is worth it, but there's a lot more to it in Orlando from what I heard, and the way that it's laid out is slightly different than Hollywood, so that it's not just like randomly, oh, here's this room that you can go into. It kind of makes logical sense the way that you go around and do it. I can't speak on that because I didn't do the Florida or the Hollywood one. Yeah, I mean, even me, who it takes a lot to wow me, I was really, really impressed. I think the biggest issue is the kineticism, and not that there's like too much, but just that it's a lot for them to maintain. And I think on any day that you go, at least one thing is not going to be moving on the skyline. And the example I have is the cloud platforms that are kind of near the top of the beanpole flag or whatever. 2 of those of the 3 were not moving at Epic. But if you're not a, you know, critical asshole like me, then none of that stuff really matters because it's got soul. How about that? It's got soul.
Could that just be the Epic effect? Because it's still a new park, so they might still be working out the kinks.
I want to believe that, but that's an overarching concern of mine for the whole park. We don't have to get into that, but there's just so much. There's a fountain that's outside of the Nintendo World gift shop that's actually outside of the land, and it's completely covered up with construction walls right now because it's supposed to have coins all the way around it that are rotating in sync, but they have yet to get them rotating in sync. So the entire fountain is just covered with construction walls, and it looks really garish out there in the middle of everything. But what are you going to do? I don't want to complain too much. The land is great. Donkey Kong Country is pretty small. I think I heard somebody make the point that they maybe weren't sure how popular it was going to be, so they didn't want it to be much bigger than it is. The power-up band stuff is kind of minimal in Donkey Kong Country, but I'd much prefer Donkey Kong these days to a lot of other Nintendo properties, and I felt like a little kid. It was awesome. It was truly awesome. The coaster was actually fairly rough, if I'm honest with you, but not in a bad way. I just didn't expect it to be like kind of jarring, like an old wooden coaster or something like that. It was really cool. And my only disappointment there is that I didn't get to meet Donkey Kong. And the lady that I asked that was working at the gift shop, I was like, hey, do you know when the next time Donkey Kong comes out? And she kind of scoffed and said, he's done at 3. And it was like 6 p.m. And I was like, oh my God, this whole trip has been a mistake. Obviously, I'm joking about that. But yeah, it was great, honestly. The Donkey Kong Country, I think, is a worthy addition. It fits right in. And I was actually surprised at how much Donkey Kong Country Returns stuff there was. Like, the whole thing is just Donkey Kong Country Returns. And I didn't realize they had gone all in on that specific game, which is kind of interesting, I guess.
I don't consider Donkey Kong a separate franchise from Mario. I think Donkey Kong is part of the Mario franchise. So I would still call this a more accurate name, like Super Mario World.
Yeah, I don't know. They have the Legend of Zelda stained glass that's there in the gift shop, like the main gift shop that's outside of the land. But the fact that there are tiny little Pikmin in the Nintendo world is crazy enough to me. Like that, there's even that.
Well, that's because Miyamoto was so involved with the development.
He wishes it was as popular.
That was like the last new game he made was the first Pikmin, and
it's like his love. He wishes that it was as popular as all the other Nintendo franchises. And I'm glad to see the little Pikmin there. But I think that's about as far as they can go with putting stuff in that's, not that popular.
I actually think the last new game Miyamoto was actually key in development on was the Star Fox Wii U games.
Oh.
So
is that Assault?
No, Star Fox Zero.
Zero, okay, yeah.
The one people really hated.
Yeah.
And he also did these like tech demos for Wii U, and one of them was made into, it was called like Star Fox Guard, and they packaged it with Star Fox Zero in a separate case just to try and entice people to buy it, because it was like, oh, you're getting 2 games.
Even though I had a Wii U, I just didn't have that many games for it.
Well, there weren't that many games to get.
I played it. I played through Pikmin 3 on it, and I played a good bit of Nintendo Land and with friends. But honestly, I don't even remember what else. I guess I had Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, but I don't think I played it very much. I don't know. What a flop. What a flop.
So with Nintendo World, Super Nintendo World, so I was talking about the rides. So Hollywood doesn't have the Yoshi Dark ride.
Yoshi's Adventure, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, you're right. So Yoshi's Adventure, the Mario Kart ride, Mario Kart Koopa's Challenge, or Bowser's Challenge. I guess it's depending on where you go. Bowser's Challenge in America. We'll start with Bowser's Challenge. I think that ride is almost really cool. It could be a really cool ride, but their AR headset you use is really crappy. The effect is poor. It was in development for a few years. I would think even something like the Apple AR device that flopped would probably work better than what they're using. And it just takes away because they're relying on the AR effects to carry the ride. So there's less emphasis on the physical props, because the physical things that are there are pretty cool. And even there's some screen effects, which like every Universal ride is just screens, but they work well as well. But because so much of the ride they want to have using the AR technology really stops this from being like a true must-do. I mean, I guess it's a must-do, but from being a true like standout ride.
Yeah, I will say I thought the AR, I don't know if it's an updated thing in Orlando or not. I have nothing to compare it to, but I thought it looked fine. I think the issue really lies with you actually have to pay attention to the instructions on how to play this game. I think it doesn't come naturally to people to look to aim. Like people aren't quite used to AR enough to maybe pick up on the fact that the shell is shooting directly where they are looking. And you do get maybe like a 30, 45 second practice session at the beginning, or longer, depending on how the operations are going. I noticed a lot of people getting really, really low scores which who cares? But I wondered if that was a side effect or a symptom of not quite understanding what they were doing or what they were supposed to be doing, because it's overload. It's maximalist overload in that ride. There's so much popping in front of your face, and then you have the physical sets, and you're supposed to be turning the wheel, which I actually think all that does a pretty good job of hiding how slow you're moving. I wasn't really keyed into how slow we were moving because I was trying to look all around me and turn the wheel at the right time and all this stuff. In short, I just think it's very hectic. It's very hectic, and I liked it because I paid attention and understood what was going on and knew a little bit about it going in. But just like your average family that maybe their kid likes Mario and mom and dad don't really know much about it, I think they're going to have a hard time figuring out what they're doing, what they should be looking at, who they're supposed to be shooting. Because it's also not really clear if you're supposed to be on Team Mario or on Team Bowser, and it tells you who wins at the end. And you can shoot the Mario characters, Mario, Peach, Luigi, whoever, just as easily as the Bowser guys. It's also not clear if you're getting points when you shoot someone. Sometimes there's like a little star bonk, and then sometimes there's like a coin or something like that. So it's a little confusing. It's just a little confusing. It didn't bother me, but I could just see like your general audience being a little overwhelmed and confused by it. But my biggest thing is I'm just a huge fan of physical sets. And I felt like I wasn't able to enjoy a lot of the physical sets, which are great, which are really, really great. 9 or 10 out of 10. Great. But I was just too distracted by the, brain rot going on in front of me that I couldn't enjoy the physical sets. I feel like I'm being really negative about it, but I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I was really glad to be able to do it after all this time. The queue in Orlando is a lot more spread out, as far as I understand, compared to Hollywood. There's a lot of really, really great details. It's an amazing queue. We went through the express pass lane, which is great because the line was like 2 hours long, but I do kind of wish I could have looked more into the details that we were walking by. But yeah, I think overall, good attraction, a little confusing for your average person who's maybe not such a loser nerd about stuff like that like me. Yeah, it's okay. It has some things going for it, but also going against it that it's too late to fix now. But I would definitely ride it again. I would recommend this ride.
The second ride that's in Orlando and Japan, and like I said, not in Hollywood, is Yoshi's Adventure. I love this. It's really short. I think it's 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. It's just a dark ride, but it's all physical sets. There's very simple animatronics. The big one at the end, you see a big Poochie animatronic.
Oh my god, it's Poochie. Oh my god.
And you ride in a Yoshi. You ride in a happy Yoshi, not a depressed Yoshi.
Not the sad Yoshi picking flowers. Well, he's not actually sad.
Well, he is, but I love this ride. And I think it's made for like toddlers, so maybe that's why I like it. They had this in Orlando, right?
They did. I don't know why this is sort of a general theme with my trip down there. Ride ops were pretty abysmal, even though this is an Omnimover ride, essentially, It stopped a lot, even while we were riding it. And initially I thought it was because of like a handicapped person. They were stopping the ride to get them on. But it stopped so often and for so long that I thought there was no way that was what was going on. And it was a shame. It was a shame because I was looking forward to it. The queue, I don't know if you've seen the queue in Orlando, but it's really great. Yoshi's story, it's really great. There's a fun little screen with Toadette coming out and talking about the ride and everything. And it looks great. It's really good. The buttons that you push for the eggs, I kind of think the effect that lit the eggs up was not working. So I just wasn't sure what egg I was supposed to be looking for. But it was fun. I just wish it had been operating more smoothly. I'm not sure why we stopped so much because it took probably 10 minutes to get through the whole thing.
Had you purchased a power band?
No, I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
So I did buy one. There's some like cool effects around the park you can activate, and then on the rides you scan them. The actual metagame that you use with the app is really not that interesting. I didn't regret buying it though, because it actually works as an amiibo of the character yours is themed around. I bought the Yoshi power band, so if I scan it on the Switch, it counts as a Yoshi amiibo.
There's a Diddy one. Pause.
There's really an emphasis on trying to make things interactive because it's based off of a video game series. And I've just never been a fan of interactive stuff in theme park rides. I've yet to see a ride that it really works great on other than maybe like Buzz Lightyear, where that is the ride. I feel like with Super Nintendo World, it's similar to the Mario Lego sets, where they felt like they couldn't just do a normal Lego set. They have to reinvent the wheel. It has to be different and has to be gameplay driven to its detriment.
I wish that if they were going to take that approach, they would go 10 times further with it. Like I wish it was so complicated that you had to come multiple times. I wish it was more than just get a coin, touch the question or the music note block, You know, I wish it was way more to it than that. And I guess in a way there kind of is, you know, there's that progression where you have to do the certain amount of activities and then you're allowed into the room to do the Baby Bowser fight.
And then the third ride, which is now open in Japan, wasn't open when I was there, and open in Orlando, is Donkey Kong
Minecart Madness.
This is pretty interesting because the ride system works where you're attached to an arm. The real track is separate from the track you're looking at, so it simulates being on a minecart that's going off the rails. It looks cool from the videos I've seen. You said you got to ride it.
We did. And I'll say the one negative thing about it right up front, the queue sucks. I'm sorry to say, the queue sucks. It's extremely boring. The Cranky and the Squawks animatronics, of course, are great, but there's just nothing to look at the whole queue. It's just a golden room that you're in, basically. And that's the only negative that I'll say about it.
The capacity for it is really small.
It is. I mean, actually, it's pretty cool that you end up being on your own minecart, you know, as far as you can see anyway. In the experience of the ride, you're the only minecart on the track. You're not actually Donkey Kong, you know, you're not supposed to be Donkey Kong. You are going through the adventure on your own. So that is cool, but it leads to another glaring issue with most of Epic Universe, ride op issues. And I think that's half the reason the line for that ride is so long. Even in the Express Pass line, we must have waited, 20, 30 minutes just because ops were so bad. But that's fun. That's whatever. The ride itself is awesome. It's really awesome. It's everything I could have wanted out of the concept of a minecart, Donkey Kong minecart. They're playing the hits. You got the Dixie Kong animatronic, the Diddy Kong pause animatronic, the Donkey Kong animatronic. There's those tiki things that yell in the background of the Donkey Kong Country Returns that tip over onto the mine track. And of course, everybody knows about, skirting along the water and getting shot through the barrel cannon. It's awesome. It's as good as that concept could have been to me. I think they really knocked it out of the park. I think it might be, no, I'm going to say unequivocally, it is the best attraction in Super Nintendo World. It's absolutely worth doing. If you know anything, if you've ever played any Donkey Kong Country game ever, you're going to love it. You're going to be smiling the whole time. I will say, like I said before, it's much rougher than I expected. It's not like a neck breaker or anything like that, but it is not as smooth as every other ride in the park. It's very, well, I don't want to say very. It is jarring. It knocks you around, but it just feels like a good old-fashioned roller coaster. It doesn't feel, overly violent or anything like that. It's just, it's a great time. It's a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough.
Did you eat while you were at Super Nintendo World?
No, I really wanted to get the Donkey Kong Sundae thing, and I actually meant to go back and get it, but we had dinner reservations right before park closed, and we ended up staying there until the park closed, so I didn't get a chance.
I did get to eat at Toadstool Cafe. So in Japan, it was the Canopio Cafe. I got spaghetti and meatballs, which it was edible. And then I got, for dessert, the cake.
The cake. The one.
The one that Princess Peach baked for Mario.
All those years ago.
So, and that was good. Food was good. I don't know if they had any real snack options when I went. I know they've added more stuff, like you said, with the Diddy drink or whatever it was.
The Diddy juice. You know what? I'm going to say, overall at Epic Universe, I thought that it was some of, if not the best theme park food I've ever had. Didn't eat anything in Nintendo World, like I said, but the sheer fact that they are willing to try and make those heavily themed food items, I was impressed. Just the effort alone, the question mark block thing. They have those Koopa shell calzones, which I saw somebody holding one. I mean, they look good. It really did look good. So I really, really genuinely appreciate that effort, even though I didn't get to indulge in it.
The shopping there. Now, I went expecting to spend a fortune just at Super Nintendo World. I didn't spend a fortune. I still spent like maybe $150, but I was disappointed with the merchandise. I don't know if they have this in Orlando, a similar thing, but they had a Mario Kart trophy. So I got that, and that was cool. I don't remember how much it was, but it was somewhat expensive. And then I got some little Mario Kart Matchbox. But the rest of it, I don't know. It was nothing special. I think the plush there is garbage. The quality of the build of the Universal branded Mario plush is just garbage. So if you're in Japan, I recommend, if you want some plush, go to one of the Nintendo stores, because there's a Nintendo store near in Osaka that's going to have a much better selection of plush that are much higher quality.
That Nintendo store is better than the one in Tokyo.
Yes, I would agree with that. I really want it. They didn't have it. It just came out. They sell a giant Donkey Kong, like life-size Donkey Kong plush in Japan now, and you have to be a Japanese citizen to buy it.
That is so ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. I don't even know what they mean by that.
They ship it to you. You don't actually walk out of the store with it, and so they only offer domestic shipping. I mean, that's their reasoning. I'm sure there's some more racist against Gaijin.
White Pigu, go home.
White Pigu, go home!
They're afraid of what we would do with it. That's what it is. We're afraid of the power that we would get from having that large of a Donkey Kong.
Well, I think it all goes back to, Miyamoto was never a fan of Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo.
He's a hater.
Did you know that? He didn't like those games?
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, so he didn't like those games. I honestly think it was because they were so much better looking than like the games he was making, because they used those pre-rendered backgrounds. So I think there's some jealousy going on that people were enjoying an American-made Donkey Kong game more than his games, which is part of why I'm surprised for the Donkey Kong ride that it was really based around Donkey Kong Country Returns. That's also an American-made. So the Donkey Kong Country games on Super Nintendo, those were made by Rare, which is now owned by Microsoft. Donkey Kong Country Returns was made by Retro Studios, and they've been working on Metroid Prime 4 for the past 15 years.
It looks terrible.
I'm still going to buy it, but it is probably not going to be good. Previously, they had worked on for 10 years the port of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze to Switch. I think that took them like 5 years. I mean, I don't know. They must have been working on something else that just got canceled. What was I talking about? Oh, the Donkey Kong plush. So yeah, the plush at Universal Studios sucks. Don't buy it. Vote with your dollar.
I honestly thought they weren't that bad. I am looking at the Donkey Kong I bought, but you know more about that than I do. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he's sitting right next to a Nintendo store Donkey Kong plush.
I wanted a big Mario, and the Marios they had there were lousy. So then I walked my white ass to the Nintendo Osaka store and got a big Mario there that was much nicer.
Now that is definitely understandable. You know what, I'm going to say though, I thought in general that the merch at Super Nintendo World was okay. I'm not going to, get into the quality of the plushies, but I thought the selection was pretty cute. I liked the mouse ear ripoff stuff. If I were a little bit more whimsical, I might have bought one just because I thought they were cute. I really like the pillows they have the little beads in them that you can turn inside and out. That's a Yoshi head or an egg or a question mark block or a star. I thought those were cute. Something I really hate was those horrible t-shirts that just have big prints of the characters on them. That's like Temu. If you sweat in those shirts, you're going to smell up the entire room. Horrible, horrible quality stuff.
Yeah, theme parks in general don't make good shirts anymore. It's all like stuff you'd buy at like Target.
I thought these were even a step below. Like, these are horrible. They're almost like those horrible Temu all over print quality, like not vinyl, but just fully polyester shirts, really bad stuff. They're not sending their best. I don't know who those are for. And on top of everything else, they're all ugly. Anyway, I actually, you said you didn't spend too much money. I didn't either. But I also thought that some of, not all of the Nintendo merch was fairly reasonably priced. I bought a Donkey Kong coffee mug that was $16, but then they had a gigantic Donkey Kong coffee mug that was $25, and I was expecting it to be like $40. So I was like, you know what, for $9 more, it's, I kind of think it's worth it. But then on the other hand, they had a bunch of little clip-on keychain plushies of lots of different characters that I probably would have bought a Blooper or a Boo, but these little tiny, maybe 2-inch tall plushies on a keychain were $16. And I was like, man, who is this for? Like, there is no way I would spend $16 on these tiny little clip-on plush keychain things. It's just, I don't know how they, come to these prices, because sometimes it feels like, oh, these are priced just so that you think, well, it's expensive, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so I'll just go ahead and get it. But that, like those little clip-on things, I couldn't believe that they were $16. I mean, that's just outrageous.
Going forward, there's definitely going to be some more expansion in Orlando of Super Nintendo World. I think you're probably right that it's going to be Pokemon. I don't see it being Zelda. If it was Zelda, it's gonna be themed around the movie. It'll be the movie, and if not, it'll be Breath of the Wild, but I think it'd probably be the movie. There's a bunch of other Nintendo franchises people, like I said earlier, think will get a ride, that they're never gonna get a ride. You're not gonna get Punch-Out. You're not gonna get Star Fox. You're not gonna get Pilot Wings. Kirby, if they had the space, I could see them doing something with Kirby in Japan, because Kirby's just everywhere you go in Japan. I ate at the Kirby Cafe, and there's like multiple of them now, and it's a reservation system too. So I could see them doing something with Kirby, but I still think Pokemon is the shoo-in for expansion. I agree with that.
I'm standing on business right now and saying, Pokemon fans, listen up. A real one is talking. You're the worst. You like the worst crap that's ever been created. And I can't wait for Pokemon Land to disappoint you, because you're evil and you're going to swallow it down no matter what they build.
I've never really cared for Pokemon. It insists upon itself. The only Pokemon game I ever played was Pokemon Blue, and I didn't understand it because I was 4.
Here's a real conversation you can have with a Pokemon head. You can say something like this.
What animals do you not want to have sex with?
But you can say this. Pokemon peaked 2nd gen. Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver. And they're going to go, I don't know about that. Okay, what is it about the later games that is peak compared to Pokemon Gold and Silver? How did they evolve? What improved? What gameplay loop was added? What depth was added? They can't ever come up with anything. They're gonna say, well, actually, Black and White was the peak because there was actually stereoscopic 3D buildings. It's like, okay, but it's the same game. It's the exact same game. There's nothing new or interesting about it. I don't understand Pokemon as an appeal, other than there's some cool looking Pokemon designs. It's just not a good game. And those idiots that buy those games shovel down the worst, most contemptible slop, and Nintendo has contempt for them. Look at the way that Arceus came out. I mean, how can anybody excuse that and then be looking forward to the next games? It's like, you guys are so cucked. The most cucked fan base in the world. When they build Pokemon World inevitably, and I go there in 10 years, I'm going to be walking around with a scowl on my face and just giving off an evil aura.
What would a Pokemon attraction look like?
Pokemon Snap is the only thing I can think of. Or something, using the AR technology from Mario Kart to catch Pokemon, but then it's like, how would it be functionally different than the Mario Kart ride at that point?
Do you just build out Pallet Town?
I don't know. I don't even know what...
Pallet Town's the name of the town, right?
Right, that's the starting town.
I wasn't sure if that was the one in Earthbound.
No, that is the Pokemon one. But the thing is, it's like the epic creepypasta Lavender Town, but, they're going to have to pander to that a little bit, I would imagine. But I don't even think they're going to go back. I think they're only going to be, building stuff based on like Black and White and onwards, because there's more of a modern, sleeker look to that. They're going to have to pick a region. They're going to have to pick a generation, to set it in. And I don't know. I don't honestly know how you can make a Pokemon world look distinctive other than building like vaguely Japanese-ish Pokemon architecture and then just have animatronics of Pokemon all over the place. And I don't know how that would be interesting.
I think what will be most interesting about the Pokemon Land, if it comes, is this will be the first theme park to have diaper changing stations meant for adults.
Take a page and a pen, draw a big mushroom and an egg, then 2 more. Draw a cloud under here, now we'll add some coins. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, draw